to Reston and right over by Dulles Airport. A few sprinkles in northwestern Loudoun County, Point of Rocks, across the river, up into Frederick County, up near the Point of Rocks area. So a few little sprinkles out there this evening, but those will be moving out. Been some active weather. Seen some crazy video from down in the deep south. Gusty winds knocked a train off an elevated trestle in New Orleans earlier today, and this weather continues to rock across the southeast along the Gulf Coast. It won't come to us severe, but this moisture will be lifting our way. Tomorrow, I think we'll get some sunshine. It'll be partly sunny to mostly sunny. Pleasant will be near 70. I think as we head into Wednesday, partly to mostly sunny, near 70 as well. But late Wednesday night into Thursday, that's when our next system moseys down the pike, and that's when we can see our next chance of rain later in the week. So as we head through the overnight hours, temperatures will fall through the 40s. Cloudy out there, maybe a sprinkle or two, a little bit cool. Northwesterly winds about 5 to 10. Still a touch of a breeze tomorrow as we start off the day, but it will be a chilly start. 45 in the city tomorrow, low 40s in the outer burbs, 40 in Winchester, 40 in Martinsburg. Through the afternoon, though, I do anticipate temperatures to climb, and we could flirt with near 70 degrees. A touch of a breeze early in the day, sun up at 6:14, but through the afternoon, I think those breezes will subside somewhat. By Wednesday, I do think we'll see a similar day with temperatures near 70. Could be a shower or two later in the day, but I think our best chance of rain on the extended outlook does come Thursday. Some periods of rain off and on across the region, and they could even linger into Friday. I'm putting more stray on Friday. I think some showers Wednesday night. On Thursday, some scattered showers are possible. Friday, maybe a lingering shower or two, but the good news is for the weekend, the payoff, Saturday and Sunday, we could be well into the 70s with partly to mostly sunny skies, maybe even pushing near 80 by the start of next week. Standard forecast brought to you by FH Fur. Just little things to get you prepared for tonight and for the day tomorrow. Now back to you, Horace.
Brian Vandegraff, thank you very much. If you're just joining us at the top of the hour, just before 8 o'clock, the mayor of Baltimore, Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake, held a news conference saying many things about what has happened over the past few hours in her city, and then looking forward. She's issued a curfew, 10 p.m. to 5 a.m., and has put it in place for the next week in Baltimore. Let's hear a little bit more of what she had to say in her press conference, which lasted about 20 minutes.
We are deploying every resource possible to gain control of this situation and to ensure peace moving forward. I've been in contact with our governor, and he has agreed, and I have requested, and he has agreed to deploy the National Guard. As soon as they are available, they will be immediately deployed. We've ordered a curfew be in effect, instituting tomorrow the curfew citywide, 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. Again, there will be a citywide curfew, 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. This preliminary curfew will last for 1 week and be extended as it is necessary.
That's the mayor of Baltimore, Stephanie Rawlings Blake. She talked about her contact and ongoing contact through the afternoon and evening with Governor Larry Hogan. We are still waiting. Governor Hogan is scheduled to, at any moment, to step to the podium and address the media assembled. We're expecting him to come at any moment right now. But we also wanted to take you to the funeral of Freddie Gray from earlier in the afternoon. It seems like so long ago. So many people packed that big church in West Baltimore to pay their respects. Again, there's Kwesi Mfume. Before that, civil rights activist Dick Gregory. So we've got a bite. Let's listen to part of the eulogy from the Freddie Gray funeral.
It's a corrosion on justice, and we're calling for the police, the 6 of them who are at least being partially, if not totally implicated, to come forward and tell it all, just like you tell our citizens to do.
Judge Billy Murphy, longtime activist in Baltimore City, been a defense lawyer for a long, long time. I've seen him in action in court. He is representing the Gray family and has been the one that's been pushing for answers. Some of those answers may come on Friday when the Baltimore City Police release their report on what happened after Freddie Gray was taken into custody. So these are pictures that we're seeing from earlier in the day. Is a lot of police standing arm in arm with their shields and their helmets. Frankly, being pelted by demonstrators, rocks, pieces of concrete, several fires set throughout the city, including a fire at a CVS store not too far from where all of this began in West Baltimore. Police were able to put that fire out, and fortunately no one was hurt, none of the employees or none of the customers. You can see there police using tear gas and pepper spray to get, the protesters back. It was a very, very, very tense scene over much of Baltimore for most of the afternoon. Things a lot more quiet right now. And the hope is that it'll be a nice and quiet and peaceful night. We do have reporters in Baltimore, several, who have been doing a great job bringing us pictures and sound and talking to people on the streets of Baltimore about what they're seeing unfold. Even talking to some of the police officers, and there are a number of police officers from our area who are up there. Police officers from Prince George's County, from Montgomery County, from Anne Arundel County are all up there helping out Baltimore City Police. And we understand that also the schools in Baltimore City will be closed tomorrow. Anne Arundel County, Prince George's County schools have also canceled all field trips that would have been going up to Baltimore. The zoo, which used to be the Baltimore City Zoo, the Maryland Zoo, is closed for the afternoon. And the zoo is really not too far from this area that you're looking at right now. As I said, there were a number of fires, and here comes the governor who's coming to the podium right now. Here's Maryland Governor Larry Hogan.
Good evening, everybody. We're just going to take a moment to get the rest of our team in here. Just recently, I spoke with the President of the United States. I've also been in communication with the Mayor of Baltimore, with the President of the Maryland Senate and the Speaker of the House. We're here in our Emergency Operations Command Center, which has now been activated. All state agencies are actively engaged in this situation. We've partnered with Baltimore City and all other agencies in Maryland, as well as neighboring states. This evening, as a result of the serious violence and looting which has led to the destruction of property and put innocent Marylanders at significant risk, I have declared a state of emergency at the request of Baltimore City. This order deploys the Maryland National Guard in order to help restore order and to end the unrest that we witnessed today and tonight. I have not made this decision lightly. The National Guard represents a last resort in order to restore order. Look, people have the right to protest and express their frustration, but Baltimore City families deserve peace and safety in their communities. And these acts of violence and destruction of property cannot and will not be tolerated. I strongly condemn the actions of those who engaged in direct attacks against innocent civilians, businesses, and law enforcement officers. The resources of the state police and the National Guard have already been deployed in support of all law enforcement in the city. They will exercise disciplined restraint and provide the support necessary to ensure safety and to bring law and order to Baltimore City. We've got our entire team here. I'm going to turn the podium over here for a moment to Colonel William Palazzi, who's the superintendent of our state police. And then we will hear from General Linda Singh and who's the Adjutant General of the Maryland National Guard, and also Clay Stamp, who is the Director of the Maryland Emergency Management Agency, where we are here tonight. So I'm going to start now with Colonel Palazzi of the State Police, and then we'll be happy to take your questions after everybody has spoken. Thank you.
Good evening. As the governor said, I'm Colonel William Palazzi, Superintendent of the State Police. And the governor's actions today are huge. We have been here, along with many of our allied law enforcement, over 500 strong, since Wednesday, working with the city of Baltimore in various capacities, helping to maintain as much order as possible. As you've seen, many groups continue to splinter and move around the city of Baltimore, looting, committing crimes in certain areas, setting places on fire. Our mission has been and will continue to be the preservation of life and the preservation of property. I have had conversations this evening with Commissioner Batts. He certainly understands the scope of what has happened and that we're coming in with additional forces to assist. The governor's statement of, or declaration of the emergency order is big in that it allows us to branch out even further. We've already put out a request for up to 500 additional law enforcement from the state of Maryland regionally to come out and provide assistance, but through an EMAC request, which the MEMOP director will talk about in a little bit. We're putting out a request for up to 5,000 law enforcement from the regional area in the Mid-Atlantic to assist us as well. We are asking that they be equipped with the necessary equipment for their own personal safety, as well as to assist us in deploying things. Kind of a plan in the next few hours is to work with other local law enforcement leaders, kind of divide up the city into certain sectors, which we will then go sector by sector trying to protect, starting ideally with the hottest areas first, which we're waiting for that briefing from BPD right now, and then work in concert with the National Guard as they come on board to maintain security of those areas. At this time, it's all I have.
Thank you, Colonel. Now we're going to turn the floor over to Clay Stamp, who is the Director of the Maryland Emergency Management Agency.
Thank you, Governor. Ladies and gentlemen, the governor's been clear from day one. We activated this past Saturday at his direction to integrate our actions with the city of Baltimore as they dealt with this situation. We've had over 400 state policing agencies in the city working with them. Today turned another chapter, and as the governor said, he declared a state of emergency. This was done after the mayor of Baltimore declared a state of emergency. That means that they've exceeded their capability, and they actually need help from the state of Maryland to move in and to support their efforts to curb the situation. What you see here is a full court press. You see representatives from organizations across the state agency, as well as volunteer organizations that are bringing the full weight of the state government to deliver resources to achieve the governor's goals, which are clear. We will be working diligently in our different sections that are activated: transportation support, law enforcement, health and medical, human services, and through planning, logistics, and operations, we will achieve the necessary results we need to achieve, again, the governor's directive. I'll turn it over to Governor Hogan again. Thank you, sir.
Lastly, before we take your questions, we're going to turn the podium over here to General Linda Singh, who is the Adjutant General of the Maryland Guard.
No content could be found to speak on the screen.
Thank you, Governor. As the governor mentioned, the Maryland Guard is actually going to be out in activation this evening. And what you need to understand is that he has access to our full complement that's here within the state, which means up to about 5,000 troops that can be put onto the streets to actually protect property and people. I would highly recommend that we all go in and take cover for the night and actually go to sleep and get some rest and let things settle down so that we can restore order to the city. We are going to be out in massive force, and that just basically means that we are going to be patrolling the streets and out to ensure that we're protecting property. We are in a supporting mode, so if there are any questions about martial law, this is not martial law. Martial law means that at that point the military fully takes over, so we are not at that point. I repeat, not at that point. We are in support of the police department, and we will be taking our direction from the police department as in where we're going to go out and support. Thank you.
This time we'd all be happy to take any questions that anyone might have. Any questions?
Governor, we hear from equipment sources that there is an officer that is gravely injured in the vehicle. What's the first step?
Well, I've heard about some of the officers have been injured. I haven't heard the exact medical status, but if there's anybody else that can address that, I don't think you probably have more up-to-date information than we do. I can tell you that the last report I had were 7 police officers were injured. It's something, as I said earlier, that won't be tolerated. It was one of the factors in us deciding we had to get in there and provide some support, I can tell you that. But we'll let you know as soon as we... Does anybody here have any other updated information on that? We'll try to get you the answer.
Governor, with all the resources being thrown, who is actually in charge and will direct where the resources are going and what to do next?
Well, the city has asked for us to take over. Currently, the state police superintendent, Bill Palazzi, is in charge. We'll be in direct communication with the city, with the mayor, with the city police, and General Singh will be providing backup assistance to the state police. We'll be coordinating the police from other counties around the state and from the other police that we get in from around other states in the region.
Governor, when we put out the you declared the state of emergency and the National Guard was coming in, a lot of the response we got was, finally, what took so long? What was the tipping point for you that made you declare the state of emergency?
We declared the state of emergency, and I issued the executive order less than 30 seconds after requested by the city of Baltimore. So it didn't take us very long at all. I signed an executive order almost immediately as soon as we received the call and then called the president. There was no delay whatsoever. We've had this emergency operations center activated since Saturday. We've had hundreds of state police on the ground. We've had every single state agency and local agency coordinated out of this operation already for the entire week. I've been in daily communication with the mayor and others in the city, and our entire team has been involved from day one. But frankly, this is a Baltimore City situation. Baltimore City was in charge. When the mayor called me, which quite frankly we were glad that she finally did, is instantly we signed the executive order. We already had our entire team prepared. In fact, I'd already called General Singh earlier in the day and asked her to get prepared to be called up. We were all in the command center in the second floor of the State House in constant communication, and we were trying to get in touch with the mayor for quite some time. She finally made that call, and we immediately took action.
Governor, do you think that you should have gotten the call earlier? Would you have liked to have acted earlier?
Look, I don't want to. I know that the city has done everything in their power to get this under control. I don't want to question what they've been doing. They're all under tremendous stress. We're all here on one team. And I want to thank the mayor for all of her involvement. We're just happy that we're all on the same page and we're all able to help each other at this point.
Governor, can you detail for us what the National Guard is capable of that Baltimore City has not seen?
Well, I'll let General Singh talk about maybe whatever some of the specifics that she can. But again, the National Guard is going to provide some assets and be working as backup to the state police and the other police agencies. So we're not, as she said, we haven't taken over. It's not a situation where they're going to be in charge, but we are going to roll in some assets into the city. We're going to have some equipment and some manpower that's going to help us get the situation under control. But I'll let General Singh talk about what assets they have available and what might be happening. And keep in mind that some assets will be readily available and we'll get down there tonight. Some of them take a while to call up and get in. So it'll be growing as we bring in folks from around various counties around the state, as we call up the Guard members, and as we get support from other states. But we're going to get as much as we can there this evening.
If I could talk to that real quick. One of the challenges law enforcement's had is the moving. Like, we've been able to go in with BPD, go in and stop certain areas and moving. As they constantly move around, they outnumber us. So I can tell you my ask of the National Guard is to allow us to come in when we clear an area, hold that area. But we need it for everybody, for law enforcement and National Guard, for it to be done as safely as possible. They need to have the proper equipment to defend themselves, to secure themselves from rocks and bottles and everything else that's being thrown at us. That's one of the biggest requests of the National Guard from law enforcement is hold certain critical infrastructure, certain areas that we believe we need to hold.
And that is absolutely correct. And just to add, if you really want to get into the specifics of vehicles, we are going to be coming in with up-armored Humvees, and mainly because I want to make sure that our folks are being protected, as well as some pieces of larger equipment that will allow us to move more forces when we need to. And we will be carrying our weapons. And so, because if my folks need to be able to protect themselves, they have the ability to do that, but that's only in the event that they need to do that.
And just to follow up, what we saw this evening is crowds move back into the down the mall area. Is that what you're talking about? The National Guard will secure?
So I'm not going to talk about exactly where we're going to secure. It will be up to where the state police tells us we need to move. The goal is, once we have those areas secured by police, we will come in and provide the relief for them, so that they can then move on and secure other areas.
Can you tell us how many guardsmen are on the streets right now and how many state police troopers?
So we will have up to 5,000 that can be called up. It will be up to the state police and the governor to tell us exactly how many they need and at what points in time.
And when it comes to the city of Baltimore, Maryland State Police, and any other assisting agencies suffering from county squad cars, give us CPS tonight, how many law enforcement officers are out on the streets right at this hour? National Guard.
General number, I'd say around 1,500. And again, we are relying on, as the city has, our partners in all of this. The law enforcement they can bring in that already have arrest authority and stuff like that in the state of Maryland to bring in to support things. But certainly we're looking to bring in more. I don't have a specific number for you. Right now I'd say more than I can possibly need, I'd like to have. But we're bringing as many as we possibly can.
Roughly 1,500
right now.
Anybody else? Les?
And now seeing what's happening in Baltimore, in your own state, your reaction to this now being closer to home?
Well, it's obviously very disappointing to us as Marylanders and people who love the city of Baltimore. What started out as a peaceful protest with people expressing genuine concern about an incident that took place and was a peaceful incident for 6 hours or so. I would say 95% of the people involved were conducting themselves in a very peaceful manner. It was well under control. We had a lot of outside agitators come in from around the country, and we had some roving gangs and young people that were just out looking to cause problems. It's totally separate, I think, from some of the people who were peacefully demonstrating the other day. It's unfortunate. I had a long discussion with the president about this evening. He supports our actions 100%. We talked about the fact that we've got to find, everybody believes we need to get to the answers and resolve this situation, the concern everybody has about what exactly happened in the Freddie Gray incident. That's one whole situation. This is an entirely different situation. This is lawless gangs of thugs roaming the streets, causing damage to property and injuring innocent people, and we're not going to tolerate that.
Governor, what was the hardest thing for you to see, whether it be online or on TV today, some visual thing that you saw in the city of Baltimore that really got you?
Well, I mean, all of it was disturbing. It's hard to say any one thing, but when you see when the law enforcement officers were hurt and injured, when police cars were on fire, when buildings were being set ablaze, it was very disturbing, and we called everybody together in advance of the city requesting, so we were fully ready to engage immediately.
Governor, it sounds like you're planning for this to go on for multiple days. Are you worried that you're not going to get this under control tonight?
Well, we have no way of predicting. I can tell you this. We're going to put every available asset and as much manpower as it possibly takes to get this under control as quickly as we possibly can. And we're going to maintain the state of emergency until it's put to rest.
Can you tell us what the president had to say in your conversation?
He thanked me for the action, said he thought we were doing the right thing. He said, I assume that you and your team will be exercising due restraint. I assured him that we were. The last thing we want to do is escalate the violence, but I also assured him that we weren't going to stand by and allow our city of Baltimore to be taken over by thugs. And he said that the Justice Department was going to be, the new Attorney General would be coming into Baltimore, that we were all going to sit down and work together to try to see if we can't bring calm to the community and find answers in the case of Freddie Gray. But that was a separate situation, that he felt we absolutely needed to get control of our streets, and he endorsed the action that we're taking tonight.
Can you say when the Attorney General and possibly the President might be coming up with?
I don't know when. He didn't say when. All right. Any other last questions?
Do you know when the last time the Governor of Maryland had to declare a state of emergency for civil unrest?
I don't believe I do know for sure, but it's probably 1968.
In light of that question, is this unprecedented? And if not, how does it compare to the rioting?
Well, it's nowhere near as bad as that at this point. We want to make sure that it doesn't get to that point. You know, it's certainly the worst thing I've seen since I've been governor, which is only 90 days. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Okay, that was Maryland Governor Larry Hogan was just finishing up his press conference, and along with the governor were members the superintendent of the Maryland State Police and the director of MEMA, and also the head of the Maryland National Guard. The governor saying in his press conference that people have the right to protest, but Baltimore City families also deserve peace in their community. Superintendent of Maryland State Police, Colonel Palazzi, saying that he's calling on 5,000 additional officers from around the Mid-Atlantic to come and assist. The superintendent of the Maryland National Guard saying that she has 5,000 guardsmen available to call up, and that there are members of the Maryland National Guard on the streets of Baltimore right now. She also said we are not at the point of martial law in Baltimore, that at this point the Maryland State Police are in control, the lead agency here. They've been called in, and when the state of emergency was declared, Maryland State Police took over, of course being assisted directly by Baltimore City Police, who are more familiar with the situation than Maryland State Police, who are just now getting on the ground. So this is the situation in Baltimore. The mayor earlier declaring this state of emergency and imposing a curfew for the next week in the city of Baltimore from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. excuse me, until 5 a.m. Kelly Lynn will be taking over right now for the next 25 minutes of our coverage. So let me turn it over to you, Kelly.
All right, Horace, thank you very much. Just to bring you some additional information from what Horace was just talking about, it seems that things are beginning to calm down a bit in Baltimore. Recently, we saw some peaceful protests that were happening, and we saw 200 men who were marching arm in arm through a neighborhood in Baltimore that was littered with debris. We have been told that Maryland Congressman Elijah Cummings was part of this peaceful protest. At one point, the people in the group actually bowed down and began to pray. Now at Bendaman Mall, we saw looters there and police having to return to that location, which is really where all of this started. Police had to fire bean bags and rubber bullets at some of the looters there. That was earlier this evening. The looting apparently began to happen as police moved away. They were moving away to deal with some protest happening at another nearby neighborhood, and we should really call it rioting, because that's what ended up happening. You can see some images of that right now as people were throwing rocks at police and explosive devices. We saw rioters jumping on cars, setting cars on fire. So much looting happening at area stores in Baltimore. We saw looting at a CVS store that later caught fire. We have had some reaction from some local school systems as well. Prince George's County Public Schools have recently issued an alert, and they have told us that classes are now canceled on Tuesday for students who receive special education services in Baltimore. Again, those classes canceled for tomorrow for students who are receiving special education services in Baltimore. Also, Anne Arundel County Public Schools, Prince George's County Public Schools, and Howard County Public Schools canceling their field trips to Baltimore City in light of what has been happening.